and welcome to today's Heritage Help video, where we're going to be talking about discovering your military ancestors. My name's Alice, I'm the Heritage Librarian with Hobsons Bay Libraries, and today I'll be taking you through the online resources available for researching your ancestors who served in the Australian military. All these resources are available freely online, so as long as you have a computer and internet access, this is all research that you can do from your own home. Since Hobsons Bay City Council is located in Australia, we're going to be focusing today on researching your ancestors who served in the Australian forces. Although we will have a look at a couple of resources that also pertain to other Commonwealth countries. The example I'm going to be using in today's video is going to be a soldier who served in World War I, and the reason for that is that a lot of World War I resources have been digitised and made available online thanks to the recent centenary of World War I. That being said, a lot of this information will also be useful for researching ancestors who served in other wars such as World War II and the Boer War. Last of all, before we get started, I just want to mention that we will be looking at soldiers today in this video, which means we'll be looking at men who served in the war. If you have ancestors you're interested in who are women, who were perhaps nurses or ambulance drivers or served in another capacity, unfortunately that's not what will be covered in today's video. So let's get started with the first site we're going to visit today. And all the sites I take you through today are going to be listed at the end of this video, as well as being linked in the video description. If you don't catch the name of the site I visit, don't worry, you'll have a chance to see it again. The first page we're going to be looking at today is called the AIF Project. And the AIF Project is a database which brings together resources from a whole lot of different archives and different locations to create an easy to search and easy to read record of somebody's military service. So I'll start off just by clicking in my search bar up here to do a search for the AIF project. I'm just using Google Chrome for this search. You can be using Internet Explorer, Firefox, or whatever web browser you're comfortable with. So I'll just click in this bar up here, type in AIF project, and just press enter. And I'll just want to click on the very first result here, the AIF project. So the AIF project brings together a whole lot of different databases to put all the information in one place where it's really easy for you to see and understand. And I'll give you a demonstration now of what that information looks like. So if we scroll down a little bit, I'll just use this bar on the side, click and drag that down. You can see the kind of searching you can do on this website. You can search by name, you can search by regimental number, you can search by address, and then you can also add in a few other factors like the place of birth, the fate of the ancestor you're researching, whether they may have died in the war or whether they may have come home, and the date of that fate if they did die during the war. Now, you don't have to know everything about your ancestor to do this search. If you just know your surname, you can just put a surname in this name box. If you just know the address that your family lived at, but you don't know if any of the family who lived at that address did fight in any of Australia's wars, you could just put in an address and do a search. I'm just going to do a very simple search today, demonstrating with using a full name. So I'm going to click in the name box, and we're going to type William Lata. He's going to be our example today, and I'll just press search. And here we have one result for William Lottick, William Peter Lottick from North Merbau, Gippsland. Now, I'm quite lucky in this search because Lottick isn't a common name, but if it was, if I was looking, for example, for William Smith, this would have turned up many, many more results. And this additional information that comes up is a good way to narrow down those results. So if you know where your ancestors are from, for example, William's from North Merbau in Gippsland, that can be a way to narrow it down. Maybe you know what battalion they served with. Or perhaps, if you're very lucky, you already know their regimental number, and this will make your search much easier. If you don't have that information, you will just have to click through a few different results, read the information, and try and piece together which one might be from your family based on what else you know about your family history. So I'll just click on William Peter Lottick and show you the information that is available. And here we have William's record on this website. So I'll scroll down and we'll see what we have. So William was born in Brunswick in Victoria. He was a Roman Catholic. He worked as a carpenter's improver. He lived at North Merbau, Gippsland. He was single when he enlisted, and he was 22 years old. And we have further information here about his life and his service. Now, there's a couple of interesting things to note here. The first is that the AIF project draws on information such as address and next of kin to group families together. So if I scroll down, I can see here we've got this heading, family/military connections. And this site has actually found that William has a brother, Patrick Joseph Lata, who was also enlisted during World War I. So this can be very useful information if you're not sure who in your family served, or if you have very limited information about an ancestor and you don't necessarily know what siblings they may have had. Other things to note here is we can see where William served, we can see what medals he got, we can see where he's actually buried and when he died, even if that wasn't during the war. And another thing we can see up here is his unit name. So William served in the 5th Battalion, 19th Reinforcement. That's a very useful piece of information, and I'll show you later on what else we can find out using that piece of information. For now, I just want to show you that we can click on this unit, 5th Battalion, click there, and it will actually pull up a list of everyone who was in the 5th Battalion, 19th Reinforcement with William. So Frank Bayon, Arthur Baker, Harold Bansell, these are all men that would have served together with William. And if you scroll down to L, you'll see William is there. There he is. And this is useful, for example, if you're wondering if your ancestor may have served together with a sibling who also enlisted. Often siblings will enlist together and sometimes continue to serve together throughout the war. Or perhaps if you know your family has a connection with another family that goes back to your ancestor's service, and you want to see if and when they might have served together. So that's some useful information there. And you could click on any of these men if you wanted and find out about them. So if I want to know about James Lyons, I could click on him and I get all the same information that I got about William. I'm just going to go back now using this arrow in the left hand corner. That's back to my unit list, back again to William's record. And last of all, I just want to show you how you can save this information. So the easiest way to save this information is to click on this button here, Print Format. And that will pull up a very simplified version without all the extra things on the side of the website. And then that's very easy to copy and paste into a Word document to save for your own records later on. So I'd simply use my mouse to click and drag until this was all selected. Right click, copy, or I could even click print and send it straight to a printer. But what I'm going to do today is click copy, open up Microsoft Word here, just click on that. I just want a blank document. And then I'm going to right click here and there's a few paste options. I'll just click this first one on the left, paste, and now this is in a Word document. And I could save this Word document onto my computer, onto my USB, whatever it is I use to store my family history, and keep that for my own records. So let's go back to our search. I'll just click back onto Google here. And we'll go back. And that's what I wanted to show you through the AIF project. Now the next resource I want to have a look at is the Commonwealth War Graves site. As the name suggests, this site provides a database of people who served for the Commonwealth, so not just Australia, but any other Commonwealth and Allied countries, and who died and were buried during the war. So I'll just click in this bar at the top again, and this time I'm going to type in Commonwealth War Graves and just press enter. Click on the first result, find war dead, that's what we want to do, and let that load up. Now I'll scroll down a bit just so you can see the search options. Once again, you can do different searches depending on what information you might know. You don't have to fill in all of these boxes, just fill in the ones that you are sure about. So for example, I can't search for William in this example because William did survive the war. So for example, if I was searching for a man called Alfred Newland, I might type in first name Alfred, I might type in surname Newland. Now, I don't know where Alfred died, I don't know his service number, I don't know his regiment, so I'll just leave all of this blank. But if you did know this information, you could fill it in to narrow down your search. That's especially useful if you have a very common name or if your ancestor has a very common name. But if you have a more unusual name, it's better to do a very broad search and leave most of these things blank, just to avoid missing anything that may be about your family but may be spelt differently than you expect, or may have just been typed up wrong when it was put into the database or anything like that. The one thing I am going to add though, if I scroll down to the bottom here, you'll see there's a few more options. I'm going to add what country Alfred served with, because I do know that, and probably you will know that, although sometimes you don't. And we've got a whole list of countries we can choose from, all the nations, not just of the Commonwealth, but a whole variety of nations which are represented in this database. And I just want to click on Australia, scroll down to the bottom, and we'll do a search. And now I'll scroll down to see the results, and here is Alfred Lindsay Newland, 2nd Lieutenant, and he died on the 8th of November 1916 when he was 22 years old. So you can already see a fair bit of information about Alfred there, but I can click on this green arrow to get his full record. Scroll down so you can see it, and here it is. And it also tells you a little bit about his family. His parents, William and Louisa, from Laverton. It tells you where he was from Pombonite. It tells you the regiment he served with, and so forth. And if you want to save this information, you can download a commemorative certificate. So I could just click on this button here, and that will download a PDF document onto my computer with all that information. So I just simply click save. That will save to my desktop. And if I do want to have a look at that right now, I can just click on it where it's popped up in the bottom left-hand corner here, and I'll show you what that looks like. So it tells you 2nd Lieutenant Alfred Lindsay Newland, who he served with, when he died, who his parents were, where he was from, and where he's buried. So we'll close out of that. You'll now have that saved for your records. And the last thing I want to show you on this website, if we scroll down, is that it provides some information about the specific location of the person's grave. So if, for example, you were traveling to Europe and you wanted to visit the grave of your ancestor who had died at the Somme, you could find this information here in order to visit that grave. So we can see here where he's buried in this AIF burial ground, and if you click on cemetery details, it'll give you a bit more information about that burial ground and where it is. And we can also see a plan of the cemetery. So before you click on see cemetery plan, which will give you the specific location of the grave, you'll just want to note down the cemetery reference. So Alfred's is XL1, and if we click on see cemetery plan, I'll tell you what that information means. Here we have the plan of the cemetery, and he's going to be in X, so we'll have a look here. We've got V, VI, XII, and there is X, block X, and he's going to be in L and number 1. So his grave will be right there. So if you wanted to, you could save this image. Simply click with your right mouse button, press Save Image As. You can save this to your desktop, or you could choose any other location on your computer on the left, whether you're using a USB, whether you have a specific folder where you like to save your family history. You can change the name here, so I'll just click here and just add Alfred Newland so we know who we're looking at. Press save, and that's on my computer for later. If I ever want to come back and look at it, I could print it off, I could mark with a texter where his grave is, I could take it to France, and I could visit his grave. So that's the Commonwealth War Graves site. We'll close out of this map now, and we'll move on from this site to the next site I want to show you, which is the National Archives of Australia. So I'll just type that in my search bar up here, National Archives of Australia, press enter, and I'll just click on that first result there. So the National Archives of Australia holds the individual military files of people who have served in the Australian forces. And especially for World War I files, these files are digitized and available online. This may not be the case for World War II or other wars, but thanks to the recent centenary, a lot of these World War I files have been digitized, and you can view the full file and all the information that was collected during your ancestors' service from your own computer. So I'm just going to scroll down a bit. And what we want today is to search the collection. So we're searching the archives collection for a specific file. So I'll click Go to Record Search. And since we're looking for an individual, I'm going to use name search. There's a few different options if you're searching for a photo, searching for different things, but we want name search today. It's a very simple search. You put in a given name, a family name, and you let it know what type of record you're looking for. So let's go back to William now, and I'll put in a family name, Lata, given name, William, and the category of records I want to look at is World War I, and you can search for any war, you can search for other non-war records as well. We'll look at World War I today. Now that we've told that we're looking for a war record, an option has popped up to include William's service number. I'm just going to leave that blank for now, but you could put it in if you were sure of the service number. So now we'll scroll down, and the last option before we click search is use exact spelling. Now if your name has an unusual spelling, or if you've seen different variations of the name that you're searching for, it's a good idea to untick that, and then it will look for names similar to the name you're searching for. So it might find me Luttick spelled with an H instead of a K on the end. It might find me Luttick spelled with one T. Or if I'm sure that William Luttick is always spelled in the same way, I would use exact spelling. We'll try with exact spelling for now, but if that doesn't work out, we can always come back and untick that and do a little bit of a broader search. So now I'll just click search. And here we have found William Luttick. And if I scroll down, you can see a bit of information about this file. William Luttick, service number 6034, born in Brunswick. That is our man. You can see the location of the file. It's located in Canberra. So if I wanted to view the file itself physically, I would have to travel to Canberra to do that. And it is open, which means that I am allowed to view the file. But luckily for me, if you look in the top right hand corner here, you'll see this view digital copy, and that means that the file has been scanned and I'm able to view it from my own computer without traveling to Canberra. So if I click view digital copy, that will bring up the digital copy of William's file. I'll just maximize that again with this button in the top right hand corner to make it a bit bigger. Scroll down and you can see what information we have about William. So this is his enlistment papers. We can see he's put down his name, William Peter Luttick, born in Brunswick, Victoria, a natural born British subject, 22 years and 2 months old. He's a carpenter. We can see the name of his next of kin. He's put down his father, also called William Luttick, and he's from Gippsland, and so forth. And if I scroll back up to the top, you can see there's actually 51 pages of this file. So there's quite a lot of information here, and there's a lot for you to read through and to learn about your family. I'm just going to click through a few pages and show you a couple of things that might interest you. So first off, you'll almost always have the enlistment notice. We'll click next. That will be the back of that notice. And next, I like this one. It's not necessarily really important information, but it's something that I like to read when I'm doing research. And this one tells you a bit about the appearance of who you're looking at. So if I scroll down a bit, you can see that William was 22 years, 2 months old when he enlisted. He was 5'5½". He's got a ruddy complexion. He's got brown eyes, dark brown hair. You can even see whether he was broad or whether he was a more skinny person. You can see he's got a mole on his left cheek. You can get a pretty good image of what William looked like. If you're lucky, and this is much more common in World War II files than World War I, this page will also include a photo of your ancestor. And I'll just scroll down the bottom to check, because they're often at the bottom. Unfortunately, no luck today. No photograph of William. I'll turn the page just in case. No photo of William here. But if you are very lucky, you will find one. Now I'm just going to go a bit further on and show you a couple of pages that are of interest. So if I jump to page 39, and I'm just going straight to 39 because I know what's there, but you would have to click through page by page and see what kind of things you could find. And here we have the schedule of what William got up to during the war. So if I scroll down, you can have a look at what he did. He embarked at Melbourne on the 28th of June in 1916. You can see he's travelled overseas. He's proceeded to France in November. He's gone to hospital for a while. And if I click next page, back in hospital, out of hospital, back in hospital, not having a great time. And then we can see that on the 11th of August 1918, he was wounded in action and once again transferred to hospital. So now we have that piece of information. We can start to put together a picture of what happened to William when he went to war. He's a 22-year-old man. He's arrived in France. He's quite unwell and spending some time in hospital. Gets out of hospital, gets wounded during fighting, back in hospital. It's a pretty rough time. So if I wanted to save this information about William for my records so I could look back at it later and try to put together this story of what happened to him, I would simply right click on this record, once again go save image as. It's taken me to my desktop, but once again I could on the left hand side choose any part of my computer to save it. And I'll just click here and give it a name. We'll backspace the automatic one and we'll type in William Luttick War Schedule and press save. Unfortunately, in this instance with a National Archives record, you can't download the whole record at once. Although it's 51 pages, you do have to save the individual pages that interest you. If you wanted to, you could save all 51 of them, or you could go through and find the ones with important information. So that's what's available on the National Archives. Last of all, I want to show you one more site. So we'll close out of this one, back to our main page, and I'll type into this search bar the final site which I want to look at, which is the Australian War Memorial. Type that in, press enter. Here we are at the Australian War Memorial, and I'll just click on this site. Now you can do a search for a person at the Australian War Memorial. If I wanted to, I could click people and do that search, but you won't find much more information than what we have already found. So instead, I want to show you a different set of records available through the War Memorial, and those are unit diaries. So if I hover my mouse over collection, I'm not going to click, just hover it over there, and I want to click on official histories and unit diaries. Now, unit diaries were kept by the commander of a unit, and we know from our own research already that William's unit was the 5th Battalion. So the commander of the 5th Battalion would have kept a daily diary that recorded what happened to that unit, what fighting they did, who was injured, maybe who was killed, where they were marching to, what was going on, and we can read a day-by-day account of what that experience was like. So if we scroll down a bit, I want to click on Unit and Commander's War Diaries, and we're going to be looking at the First World War, which is the war in which William fought. And now if I scroll down a bit more, you do need to know, obviously, what unit your ancestor was in before you begin this kind of research, because there's a lot of units to choose from. Now, we know that William was in the 5th Infantry Battalion, so I'm looking for infantry. There it is, Class 23 Infantry. Click on that, and now we'll scroll down again till we see the right battalion. There it is, the 5th Infantry Battalion. I'll click on that. And here we have the diary of William's battalion. Now if I scroll down, you'll see how much information there is available here. Starts in August 1914, and the diary continues all the way through the war, all the way up to April 1919. And we could look at any one of these diaries, and they're all often hundreds of pages long, very detailed. There's a lot of information here, so it's probably better to have a few key dates you want to look at first before diving in. Luckily for us, we do know a key date. We learned just before that William was injured on the 11th of August 1918. He was wounded and he went to hospital. So let's have a look at August 1918 and see what might have happened to William. I'll click on August 1918. Scroll down a bit till you can see the diary. As I mentioned, these are quite in-depth, so we do have 114 pages of information here. It's a lot. Lucky we know what we're looking for. So I can just use these arrows to navigate through the diary. Can be hard to read, but we can enlarge it once we want to. All I'm looking for now is this column down the left-hand side, which is the date, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just moving through August. Go to the next page, 7, 8, 9. Next page, 10, 11, and this is the date when we believe that William was injured. So I'll scroll down here, and now we've found what we're looking for. We'll click on enlarge, and that will get up a clearer image of the page. And then I can use my mouse. See how I've got this little plus symbol on my cursor? That means when I click, it's going to zoom in, and I can read what happened to this unit on the 11th. So I'll scroll across here. You can see during the afternoon, 2 companies of the 5th Battalion relieved 2 companies of the 8th Battalion in the front line. Casualties were Lieutenant P.J. O'Farrell and 3 OR, 3 other ranks killed in action, 19 other ranks wounded, and 2 other ranks wounded and remained on duty. So chances are William was among these 19 other ranks wounded, since we know he was transferred to hospital. He didn't remain on duty. On the night of the 11th/12th instant, the 5th Battalion were relieved by the 3rd Australian Battalion and moved to Divisional Reserve at X26B. So we have a little bit of an idea of the fighting that was taking place when William was injured, and if we read through the days before and after this day, so if I scroll up a bit and read about the 10th, you can get an idea of what was happening at this time and what this experience was like for William. Once again, if I wanted to, I could save this for my records. Simply right-click, choose Save Image As, type in whatever I want to type in, such as Unit Diary, 11th August 1918, William Lata, simply press save, and then that's saved on my computer for whenever I want to go and have a look at it. As you can see from this unit diary, there's a lot of reading to do. You could go through this whole diary and look for any mention of things that have happened to William. And there are chances that sometimes his name will turn up in the diary. You can see a variety of names just in this page I have open. We've got Taverner, Robinson, and all these other men mentioned by name. So there's a lot of research to be done there. There's also a huge amount of research to be done through the National Archives. You've got 51 pages to read through there. Plenty to keep you busy and give you a huge amount of information about your ancestors and their role in the war. If you have any further questions about what we've looked at today, feel free to send us an email at heritage@hobsonsbay.vic.gov.au. We're very happy to provide you with more information about places to research your family, to assist you with your research, or to answer any questions about this video. And if you didn't catch that email address, I will put it up on the screen at the end of the video, so you'll have a chance to write it down. Thank you very much for joining us today, and best of luck with your research.